Hi there, it's Sandy Freshie back with another video. This video is about the topic of being an empath. I work with a lot of people who are empathic and intuitive, and often they're very overwhelmed by sensations and feelings and perhaps a little confused and not quite sure why. And we look at their chart and we can actually tell by looking at your chart what you're taking in what you have the potential to be empathic about. So if you're wondering what an empath is, I looked up a few definitions, and one of them said mostly from science fiction, someone who feels other people's emotions. And I think it's more than that, especially in the context of how I define being an empath. Dictionary.com online says that the word empath is an adjective meaning of, relating to, or characterized by empathy, the psychological identification with the feelings, thoughts, and attitudes of others. And on your human design chart, we can actually see how you identify with the feelings, thoughts, and attitudes of others and where you're taking that in. Now, why is that important? If you know that you're taking other people's thoughts and feelings in and you're identifying with them and it's causing you trouble, you already probably suspect that you're empathic. However, if you're just kind of overwhelmed by other people's stuff, you may not really truly know that or know exactly the mechanics of how you're experiencing empathy. And we can look on a chart, and often I work with people who have charts like this, where you've got some colored in areas, and these colored in areas on your chart are where you have this definite way of being and acting in the world. The definition of these colored in areas is what you can count on about yourself. But all of this openness here is where you have the ability to be empathic toward other people, where you have the ability to take in and identify with the feelings, thoughts, and attitudes of others. And this, all of this, that's white, where you have this potential to be empathic, is where you can really kind of get confused about what's yours and what's not, and overwhelmed and stressed out with energies that aren't even yours. So often I do work with people who have maybe 2 or 3 centers defined and the rest is open, and we're looking a lot at these open areas and really talking about in your readings how you can align with your strategy and your decision-making authority so that you live on your chart rather than off your chart. But this is an extreme example of someone who's very open and empathic. You could have a chart like this. Well, this is another one that's very open and empathic, and and anywhere where it's open, you've got the potential to be very wise about how that energy is used. So once you become aware that it's not yours, that you're taking it in, then as you align with your strategy and really work with your decision-making authority, you really get to understand what's your truth, what's your sense of consistency, and what's not, what's just pure distraction. And then beyond that, you get to become wise and grounded in yourself enough to be able to filter, on some level, consciously filter the energies that you're taking in, so that you no longer necessarily identify with them and own them as yours, but you're actually able to bear witness to the experience of someone else's energy, and perhaps are able to impart some wisdom when it's appropriate as to how that energy is to be best used. Either those emotions, those thoughts, the way that they use their work energy, the way that they're dealing with fear and instinct, or even their identity and their direction and the pain, the soul pain that they feel in their lives. Now, if you got a chart like this that's mostly colored in, you still have the potential to be empathic. For instance, this person has the emotional solar plexus undefined. So even though there's a lot of fixed experience in this person's chart, or a lot of definition that would mean that this person has a fixed experience of these themes in their lives, they also take in energy through this one undefined center. And specifically with this particular person's chart, we're looking at emotional energy. So they have the potential to be an emotional empath. If you have a chart where you're really defined, you also have that potential to take in and identify and perhaps even own the feelings, thoughts, and attitudes of others. So in your human design experiment, part of what you're doing is, in a sense, honing your empathic abilities so that you don't take on more than is yours to take on. You don't operate from feelings, emotions, fears, attitudes, identities, thoughts, questions, inspirations that are perhaps other people's. And then ultimately, if you're so inclined, as if you're a healer or a coach or a therapist, then ultimately you can really fine-tune your sense of yourself, and to use a term from traditional human design, and also your sense of your not self, so that when you encounter other people, you can be firmly grounded in yourself and bear witness as a neutral presence, so that the other person can have a space, or you can create space in a conscious way for the other person whose energies you're experiencing to work through those feelings, thoughts, attitudes, fears, whatever it is that they're working with on their chart, in this space of neutrality and healing and awareness that you can eventually provide in a very refined way. So I hope that makes sense to those of you who perhaps get overwhelmed by other people's dramas and suspect that you're empathic. And if you want to know how you tend to take in other people's energies, how you have that potential to be empathic toward others and maybe take on more than is yours, and you want to gain some skills and insights to begin to turn that around, I do human design readings. I work with clients through coaching and consultations and sometimes energy work to help you to get clear about what your path is, who you are, and how you can be a more powerful healer and empath and use your intuitive and sensitive abilities to serve other people. So that's it for now. Until the next time, be well.